Yo, welcome to another episode of the Play Callers.
Yeah.
This is interactive sports talk for real fans, hosted by real fans.
The only way to do it.
So what's up, y'all? I am Steven Box, joined as always by my co-host, the one and the only.
Cool King.
Want to welcome y'all to the show. So whether you are joining us live on YouTube tonight or whether you are checking us out on the podcast after the fact, definitely appreciate you. Make sure that you, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button down there in the bottom right hand corner. And if you want to check out the podcast so that you can listen to the show on the go, the link is in the description. Just make sure you go to the Anchor link, and it will have links to all the places you can listen to the Play Callers podcast.
We building, baby. We building.
Absolutely, man. So cool, man. Ton of stuff going on today, man. We have, as y'all can see, the new template for the show. Give y'all a little sneak preview of the topics for tonight. So as y'all can see, ton of NFL news, some MLB, some WNBA, some NBA, lots of stuff, little college football, all kind of stuff going on there. As you're tuning in, if you have comments, questions throughout the course of the show, make sure you put them in. As we said at the beginning, we'd love to interact with y'all, so make sure you do that. So we're gonna kick it off with a little what you called him before the show, man? The clown prince of the NFL, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, man. Antonio Brown finally got his suspension. We knew it was coming. It's 8 games, so essentially half the season. I read over the comments. I won't go into detail, but I'll just say I feel from the press release about it is essentially they were thinking, a lot of things have been going on. He hasn't played in X amount of time. So on top of that, we're just going to tag him for half a season, and we're going to move on. Interesting for me because this does allow him an opportunity to get on a team and play this season for half the season. If we have a season, and if we can make it through at least 8 weeks.
Yeah, and they are allowing him to attend training camp if he gets signed by somebody, which I think kind of helps, at least in terms of people being willing to let him come in, learn the system a little bit, and then serve his 8-game suspension. But they also did say that the 8 games is going to apply whether he's on a roster or not. So even if no one brings him in for training camp, week 9, somebody could actually bring him in and have him start playing. So good chance he'll probably end up on a roster this year. Obviously, missing 8 games, you're not going to get anywhere near a maximum salary, which he wasn't going to get anyways. So you're really talking about a 1-year prove-it deal. But this is also assuming that he can stay out of trouble for 8 weeks. And you didn't get the man that nickname for nothing. I'm just going to say that.
So, question for you in regards to this. I know we just briefly said that, we feel like he's going to be signed, possibly. If you could name a couple of places that you think he would go, where do you think somebody may take a chance on him, man?
So, I think in the past he would have wanted to try to hold out and go to a contender. I think that the possibility of him having to do a prove-it deal this year maybe changes that a little bit. So I think he's going to look at maybe going to some teams that have young quarterbacks who could really use a veteran wide receiver like himself to help develop them. But, that's also going to be kind of a situation where teams might be a little nervous about bringing him in with a young QB. Just because of his personality, they might be worried that might not work out well. So it's kind of hard to really say where exactly they're going to go right now, especially when we have so many other issues. So I can't really imagine places where he would necessarily go. I will say, in looking at teams who are contenders who might be interested, I think Philadelphia is one of those teams, and you can tell me your thoughts on this, but I think y'all would be one of those teams that might be interested because you do have good leadership in the building. You are already confident in your quarterback, and y'all need some wide receivers to help. So It's a good fit. I don't know. I know in the past y'all taken some guys with a little bit questionable personalities. So I don't know where your organization might fit in on that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Well, definitely, I think he could benefit us because we're going to have a lot of young receivers, especially at the beginning of the season, because Alshon Jeffrey is also going to be on the pup list for at least the first part of the season. A couple of teams that automatically came to my mind: Seattle, Baltimore, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. And the reason all four of those teams came to mind is you have three young quarterbacks, and you have another quarterback who, he's kind of had a resurgence over the last year. We'll just call it that. In Tennessee, but I think those are all teams that could definitely benefit from having his skill set, even if it's half the season. And the big point that you made was there's someone that could sign him, have him in the building, helping out young wide receivers through the first half of the season, giving him a chance to show that he can actually be a leader and have a positive impact on the team. Hopefully, the Antonio Brown that we get this time around is going to be an Antonio Brown that's going to just basically say, you know what, man, I made some mistakes. I made some bad choices. I've had time to kind of look at it, and I decided to, put whatever differences I have aside and go out there and just work and try to be the best teammate I can be and be a veteran leader on a team. He does that, man. Let's be honest. If he gets on a team this year, which I believe he will, obviously he can't go to two places that could really benefit him, which would be the Raiders or the Steelers, because they're not going to fool with him. He could actually end up back with the Patriots in a crazy way, just because, again, a team that could use, help at wide receiver. So I guess my big thing with him is just, man, if he stays out of trouble this year, he's going to be in line to probably get paid next offseason if we have a season he stays out of trouble.
Yeah, out of the teams you listed, I do see Seattle and Baltimore as being some possibilities. I don't really see Tennessee, but it does kind of depend on what the relationship was like in New England. Because I feel like if Belichick soured on him at all, that Mike Vrabel is not going to bring him in because he's going to check with Bill Belichick first. And then Jacksonville, like I said, even though they could use wide receiver help, that's one of those teams where I wonder, would they be a little nervous about bringing him in with the quarterback situation they have there? But Seattle and Baltimore are definitely two teams that I could see being a good fit.
Just simply say that, man. Sometimes talent supersedes when you're in a big need. And Jacksonville definitely has a need. They need somebody, just a name. They really just need names, honestly, at some point. They're just getting rid of everybody. But, it all depends on how the organization is about it. But just looking as an outsider and thinking about fits, those are definitely 5 teams that I could see him going to. I could see Philadelphia, like being an option as well. And, there's a lot of teams that may be willing to sign him for a minimal deal, for a half a season. So, I think he'll be on a field this year, and we'll see him play.
Yeah. One team I would tell you that he absolutely will not end up on is San Francisco.
That's what you say no. You never know.
I don't see us taking a risk on character guys. That's been kind of the MO since our current front office took over, so I just don't see it changing. Apparently, we weren't even involved in the conversation when he was available the first time.
I don't think we were either when he was available the first time, but situations changed a little bit for us.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts on that, or you want to go ahead and move on to the next topic here?
Oh, definitely on to the next topic, man. Definitely on to the next topic.
So we got the fact that there is no preseason this year, man. This is something that the players wanted because they want to try to limit their possible exposures, especially in games that do not really mean anything. And I know we'll talk about it here a little bit later, but with all this stuff that's going on with MLB right now, I can't necessarily blame them for that, but there's a couple of ramifications to this, right? I mean, number one, if there's no preseason, we've seen in the last few years, when they started cutting down the number of practices, the number of injuries started going up. And without preseason, asking guys to go out there and play full speed their first game of the year, week one, you're either going to end up with injuries or you're going to end up with really bad football for the first week. We see it every year in college football where teams open up that first week and look really sloppy, and even against bad teams sometimes. The other thing is, you got a lot of guys who might struggle to make a roster, or you got a lot of new coaching staffs that don't have a chance to see the bottom half of their roster on a regular basis. Like, they can watch some film on them, but they haven't got to see them up close and personal. And without seeing them in those games, it's a lot of evaluation time that they're losing out on. So I think it's actually going to have a pretty big impact. I know the NFL wants to cut back on it. I'm a little surprised they actually agreed to completely cut it out.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a shot. Not too much, but a little bit of a shot. The players were pushing for it, and I think that they were going to have to do it. The players were going to accept anything less. Another big point to me, it kind of ties into one of your points, but when you have a season, like every offseason, you have a lot of guys that move around. So not being able to see them against actual talent, it would be hard to gauge how well they're playing in full speed without them having any time to practice outside of their own team. So I think that would be something that would be a negative benefit as well. Definitely agree with your 2 points. It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to see 1 or 2 weeks of really bad football because we're not going to have that preseason time. Some of the better teams that are staffs are staying in place. A lot of their main starters, like our teams, are going to be in place that won't be hurt as much. But some of the teams like the Washington football team, that have a completely new coaching staff, as well as a young quarterback, I think they're going to be hurt by it. All those types of teams that have major impact players that are coming in. Like, you think about Chicago, for example. You got a quarterback battle, and how are you going to gauge it? Because they're not going to have any live action. So, there'll be some teams that are going to be affected, but I think overall it's something that the NFL wants. They want less preseason games, and they're eventually going to get it. I don't think we'll ever go back to 4 now that they've gotten down to 0, but I think we will have some. But I'm very confident that it won't be 4 anymore.
And I'm perfectly okay with that.
Me too. So, it's definitely something that will be better as it goes along, and I think we'll start to see the product will be like around week 3, 4. But this is going to affect us as far as what you see on the field. But I mean, if you don't have a preseason, you got to work out the bugs in actual games. That's all you can do.
Yep. So I see we got a few people tuning in. Let us know in the comments what y'all's thoughts are, and we'll be sure to include y'all in the show. So if you have any questions on anything, make sure you drop that as well. So you talk about the preseason and how guys are going to have to work some of the bugs out. So one thing that could have a impact on is next year's top 100 list. And I know this year's just came out, and as always, man, there's some guys on that list who people are like, why are they that high? There's some guys that get left off the list that people are like, how did that person get left off? But at the end of the day, you're only picking 100 people, so people are always going to get left off. People are always going to get ranked a little higher than what you think they should. Who do you think? What were your snubs? What were the people that you were really surprised by how high they got ranked?
Well, I'm going to let you talk about who got how high someone ranked or was surprised. I have a complete and utter disdain for this list, because you're going to sit here without a list of top 100 players, and you're going to leave Carson Wentz off. That's the biggest joke I've seen out of a top 100 list ever. And to quote a couple of different sports commentators, not Eagles fans, the list is not even valid if you don't put that guy on the list. So NFL players, piss on you all, because what you did was disrespectful. And in my opinion, I hope that Carson Wentz comes out and torches all of your teams. because you disrespected him, and I hope he's pissed off, and I hope he uses this for fuel. You guys are a joke. This list is a joke, and I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. Piss on you.
So, here's my thoughts. And you put this topic down. It's something you wanted to talk about. So that's why I was giving you the floor to be able to talk about it.
No worries.
I've actually been through with this list for about 5 years now, and I actually didn't even look at it at all. The only thing I know about the list from this year is that apparently Eric Armstead got left off. He was like at 104, and somebody asked him about it, and he was like, "I don't care." And a whole bunch of my fellow 49ers fans about lost their mind because Jimmy Garoppolo was 43, and they thought that that was too high because he missed a throw in the Super Bowl. And Patrick Mahomes apparently needs extra motivation, and he's channeling his inner Michael Jordan by being mad that he was ranked like third or whatever he was, and Lamar Jackson was number one. I'm like, okay.
Well, you should be happy. There's one thing you should be happy about on the list, and I will say this just because I know how much you love 49ers. George Kittle is ranked number 7. This is the highest ranked tight end in top 100 in the history. So he's the highest ranked tight end ever at number 7. So, again, this is a joke. I don't respect it. I don't acknowledge it that much. And that's really the only reason I want to talk about it, was to let people know my thoughts on it. And I think it's ridiculous, and I reject it and piss on everyone who voted. But it is news for the NFL, and we are a sports show. So, you have to at least touch on it. And I think we've touched enough.
Yes. So if y'all have any follow-up comments on that, you can feel free to drop them in the chat, and we may or may not ignore them. So we'll see. I'm just kidding, man. If y'all drop in a comment, we won't just ignore y'all comments.
And everybody watching,
go ahead.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah,
I will say, man, I would have appreciated George Kittle being ranked so high if we weren't in the middle of negotiating a new contract with him. Great timing, NFL. Great timing, jerks. So, something else is going on right now is the opt-outs. We are now at 30 players who have opted out of the NFL. And no team has been hit harder than the New England Patriots. 6 players, 5 of which I believe are starters, if you want to consider special teams starters in the starting list. 5 of the 6 are starters. A couple of teams have lost starting offensive linemen. I know the Bears lost a starting defensive tackle, as did, I think, Buffalo. Mm-hmm. So you have quite a few actual starters who have opted out. This isn't just a bunch of guys who really don't mean much to the team, or just guys at the bottom of a roster. These are impact players for some clubs. So what are your thoughts on these guys opting out, and do you think that we're still going to get more? Because right now they are saying that as the season goes on, at any point in time, someone can still opt out. Just once you do opt out, that's it, you're done. You can't come back.
I mean, I think if you look at, I know a lot of the people that opted out, it was because of like small children at home. I think Damian Williams, the running back from Kansas City, I think his mom has cancer or had cancer in the past. The article I was reading wasn't clear on that, so that was the reason that I think he decided to opt out. So I think a lot of the people that are opting out is because someone close to them, children, maybe a spouse, a parent or someone, they're concerned with getting it and being around that person and giving it to them. So I think you have to do what's best health-wise for yourself. Obviously, if I'm a Patriots fan or I'm a fan of a team that's lost players, Lane Johnson on our team is tested positive, so he's in quarantine now. And then, of course, Marquise Goodwin opted out. His situation, he has a newborn. They had some issues with conceiving, so they finally had, a baby that's, I think, about 4 or 5 months old, and he didn't want to endanger his child. So, I would like to have had him on a team, but, you have to do what's best for you personally. So I think that a lot of these guys are being smart in that we don't know enough to know that if you get it and you take it home and it's contracted by someone, how it will affect them long term. So if you're in a situation where you have small children and they're going to be around you a lot, or you have, an adult, you may have a parent that lives with you that's older, or, other family members. So you have to do what's best, for you in each individual situation. And I do respect people that say, you know what, the money's great, playing is great, but I have to look out for my and my family's well-being over everything else.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I think that, there's some people out there who are being critical of the players who are opting out. And, my thing is, you don't really have a right to try to tell somebody else what's right for them and what's right for their family. These are guys who, some of them are leaving millions of dollars on the table this year, and they're getting like $350,000 or $150,000, and that's it. That's all they're getting for the season. So it's not like they're just, lightly making this decision. Some of these guys are turning down millions of dollars because they feel very strongly about this. And I can't fault anybody for doing it. I mean, so far we haven't had anybody on our team who is actually opted out. But if somebody opts out because they don't feel safe or because they're worried about, taking it home and infecting somebody else, I can't fault somebody for that.
Yeah,
but I do know it's going to have an impact on some teams this year.
Yeah, it would be hard too. And, if you're a Patriots fan, sorry, Crimea River, you guys have been cheating for years. So, it is what it is.
So I'm gonna share a funny story with you here, man. So I was reading an article. Apparently, there is an AFC executive, an unnamed AFC executive. I don't know if you saw the story or not. That he is convinced. This is the reputation that Bill Belichick has. He is convinced that Bill Belichick somehow convincing guys to opt out so that the Patriots can get a better draft pick next year. That somehow you take a worst case scenario, the Patriots have lost 6 people, 5 starters, and instead of just being like, oh, they have bad luck, there's actually people out there like Bill Belichick somehow has to be behind this. This has got to be some master plan that he has.
Well, man, when you cheat and you, lie and all that for years, then you can't blame people for saying this dude is probably doing something to manipulate the situation. I mean, if everybody's there, do we feel like there's a playoff team this year? Probably not. So with that being the case, the more of the starters that aren't there is a point there. I'm not saying that Bill Belichick is doing that, but there is the point of saying the people that they're missing, a lot of defensive starters, are going to affect the team. I think that at least one of their linemen had also opted out. I know a couple of them were I think like 3 of them were defensive starters, and then one was a lineman, and then one I think was a special teams starter. So the pieces that they're going to be missing are going to more than likely help them be a worse team than they would have been with them. Probably from a borderline team to maybe a little bit under. And then, if Cam gets out there and he's not healthy, or if they decide to go with old buddy Stidham for a little while before Cam makes his grand entrance, because Cam's going to get a job sooner or later. Then, who knows? But I wouldn't put anything past Bill Belichick, to be honest with you. Anything that's not injuring somebody on purpose or lying, or, well, not lying, but anything that's like not murder or bounty or things like that, I wouldn't put past Bill Belichick ever.
Yeah, we do at least know he draws the line at murder, so.
Yeah.
At least we know that.
Oh, and he also draws the line at female abuse.
Yes.
Or alleged female abuse. We know those 2 things.
So basically what we're saying is he's not all bad.
Just 99%.
Yeah. Sounds about right. So, I'll tell you what, man. I'm going to actually just realize I left my water downstairs. I'm going to go grab my water. I'm going to let you talk about the Jamal Adams trade, and then I'm going to come back and give all my thoughts on that.
This will be fun. So
I'll let you just go first.
Jamal Adams. Kudos to Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams did something that you are not able to do in regular society. Jamal Adams forced his way off his team. And I'll let my co-host talk about, the logistics and all the things he's going to talk about it. I'm simply going to state the fact that he was in a situation where he was able to say, you know what? I don't want to be here. I'm not going to play here this year. I've asked you to trade me. You haven't traded me. I know how to get traded. And guess what he did? He got traded. Now, in this trade, the team that acquired him got robbed. But you know what? They agreed to it. So I don't feel bad for them at all either. I think the Jets had the best case scenario happen. They got back someone to replace him or at least fight for the job. They got back a couple of first-round picks, and I believe they got a third-round pick too. So you got a lot for a player that's disgruntled, that wants to be paid as one of the highest players at the position and wanted out, and you still were able to maneuver that into a trade that was better than you should have gotten. So kudos to the Jets and kudos to Jamal Adams. The losers of this trade, no matter how well he plays this year, is the Seattle Seahawks.
So, this is my thoughts. So, of course, as soon as the trade went down, I'm talking about like before the ink was even dry on paper, my phone getting blown up. Everybody's texting me. Everybody's calling me. Oh, Jamal Adams going to the Seahawks. Like I'm supposed to be scared. Like this is like the end of the world for me. So, I'm telling people, I'm like, well, first of all, Seattle got straight robbed. Like you just said. I mean, just robbed. You gave up 2 first-round picks and a third and a player, and all you got was a fourth and Jamal Adams. Now, don't get me wrong. Jamal Adams is one of the top safeties in the league. Might even be the best safety in the league. But you don't give up that kind of merchandise. You don't give up that kind of draft capital for a safety. You just don't. I mean, and look, I know some people are going to say, well, that's how Pete Carroll likes to build his defense. He likes to start with a secondary. That's how they built the Legion of Boom. They started with Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas back there. That's, the pieces for them. That's great. Here's the thing. My division right now has invested between the Rams and the Seahawks in 2 players in the secondary. One a corner, one a safety. They've invested a total of 4 first-round draft picks, a third, and another player. In the number 1 team in your division, the team to beat, their bread and butter is running the football. That's just stupid. And I know a lot of people, Jamal Adams plays down in the box, and he's, going to be able to help out with the running game. If you're going to bring him down into the box to help with the running game, Kyle Shanahan is going to exploit that because now you're going to have single coverage in the secondary. It's a no-win situation. Like, I don't see how this makes them 2 first and a third better. That's my problem with it, if I'm a Seattle fan. It's not that Jamal Adams didn't make you better. It's the fact that he didn't make you 2 first and a third better. You gave up too much for him. If you had traded maybe a first and a third, this wouldn't look like as bad of a trade. But you gave up 2 firsts. You literally are not going to have a first for the next 2 years. And for what?
That's beneficial to, the other teams in the division. So quick question I have to ask you.
Yes.
Who's worse? Texans front office, Seahawks front office?
It's still the Texans, man. Still the Texans. Come on. You know the answer to that.
Billy O.B. Yeah. Just think what they could have got from the Texans for Jamal Adams.
If only the Texans had anything left to give, man.
Hey, man. They might would have gave Deshaun Watson for him. Who knows?
And look, and speaking of that, I will say I had one of our mutual friends, and he didn't agree with me at first, but after a couple of days, he actually came back and said he thought about it and realized I was right. Because I told him when the Jamal Adams trade happened, I was like, bro, that's not the trade that worries me the most in my division. The trade that worried me the most in my division was DeAndre Hopkins going to Arizona. That's the scary move. That's the one that actually concerns me. Jamal Adams going to Seattle doesn't make them significantly better. D Hop going to Arizona makes them significantly better.
Yep. And he's playing with Fitzgerald for at least a year.
Yep.
And Christian Kirk. So you can run 3 dudes out there as thoroughbreds, and you can't decide who to cover and who to leave open. That's gonna be interesting if Kyler Murray can, do his thing back there this year. I feel you on that.
And they got the other cat. I can't remember his name right now. They got the other cat out there that's their little speedster. They can throw out there as their 4th guy, and then they got a nice little running game now. Now did they got Kenyon?
He doesn't matter. He's not one of those dudes. Yeah. The biggest thing that helped me in my division was Dallas and Dak. Because with Dak playing on a 1-year contract all season, there's going to be talk about what's going to happen with him after this year. It's going to be a distraction in the locker room. It's I still stick by what I said earlier, even more so now. Dak's going to be trying to put up numbers. So if you look at all these weapons that they have one weapon that's more of a runner and not a receiver. He can catch the ball, but especially with this offense how it is now, that's Zeke. Zeke's going to be the odd man out a lot of times. Dak wants the yards. Dak wants the stats because Dak wants to get paid, whether it's Dallas or somewhere else. So that could be an interesting thing to hover over them for, a good portion of the season. Even if they sign him late in the season. Hopefully it'll be late enough where it's already caused some dissension. So it'll that's enjoyable for me to watch just within the division. Not too worried about Washington football team or the Giants. Yes, I'm going to be saying Washington football team every time I get a chance.
Yes. Just a quick what's up to G Sosa joining us. Appreciate you tuning back in this week, bro. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one in there, man. I know this wasn't on our topic list for tonight, but it made me think about it when you brought up the that Washington football team. I just want to say that I have a lot of respect for Alex Smith ever since he got benched for Colin Kaepernick when he was playing extremely well before his injury. And he took that in stride. He went to Kansas City. He got replaced by Patrick Mahomes. He took that in stride. And he went to Washington. And then he had that gruesome injury. And he's actually back at practice now. So he's not obviously fully cleared to return. But the fact that he's able to actually return to practice and looks like hopefully make an actual full return to football, man, I just want to say I'm really happy for that dude that it's isn't working out for him because he is truly one of the rare class acts out there in the league, man. So just want to give a shout out to that real quick.
Yeah, I'll say this from a football perspective. If you put Alex Smith back there as your starting quarterback next year, I'm way more concerned about Washington.
I would be too.
He's a veteran. He knows how to play, and he's going to make everybody better. The person that this is going to be the best for is Dwayne Haskins. Because having him out there, he's going to be pushed. And I don't honestly think at this stage of his career, if it's a fair competition and he's ready to play, that he can beat out Alex Smith. So if Alex Smith is back there playing quarterback, then G Sosa, I'm way more worried about your team than I am with Dwayne Haskins back there. Y'all become a contender to be probably over Dallas, even though they have more established weapons, just because you can't beat a veteran quarterback that's hungry. And that man's going to be hungry because he almost had his career taken away.
Hey man, let's start talking about those Dallas weapons, man. I don't want to have stats from 1995 getting brought up by anybody in the chats or anything, man. Just let's not have a flashback to our draft party. So leaving the NFL behind and moving on to some other sports, the WNBA is another sport that is now back. They have their own bubble. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. So the best thing I like about the WNBA bubble, they don't have those weird looking screens around and all that. But no, but seriously, I've been watching the games this week because they, of course, started back, a week earlier or whatever. And they've been really competitive. They've done a good job of just kind of acknowledging everything that's going on with the social justice movement. They've had some great commercials in between where they've had different personalities talk about their feelings for about 90 seconds or so about, social justice and what it means to them. A lot of things with the players speaking out, players taking the mic and kind of talking about that before games. So I've been really impressed with their presentation in the bubble. The NBA actually has a measuring stick that they're going to have to, step up to. And that's not often that we can say that about the WNBA. And the difference, too, with the WNBA is this is going to be their full season.
Yeah.
So start to finish, they're in the bubble, they're doing their thing, and they're having really competitive games. So for a lot of you people out here watching, if you don't really watch WNBA, man, I advise you, man, give it a shot, man. They're good. And, they play hard, they play well, and they could definitely use, some eyes on them as well, because they're going to be playing at the same time as Major League Baseball, basketball, and possibly, NFL sliding in there as well. So, man, just give them a shot, man. Check them out and see what they got. I think you'll be, impressed. While we're on the topic, I know you're going to talk about it as well, but Kyrie did make a big donation to the WNBA. Big ups to him for that, because a lot can be said about Kyrie and the way he goes about some things, but when you put your money up and you show that you believe in something, in the league, believe in trying to make things equal for the WNBA, man, I got to give you props for that as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing this correctly, but he has his Kai Empowerment Initiative, and what he's done is this is something he started on his own, and he's donated $1.5 million of his own to this, and then of course they're taking donations to other people. But what they're doing is any active WNBA player who has opted out, and it doesn't matter if it's for health reasons, if it's to fight for social justice, or if it's just for personal reasons, they can actually get money out of this fund, and they're offering an educational program too, to help them learn to better do their finances. Because obviously the NBA players do not make as much money as their male counterparts in the NBA. And, unlike soccer, I don't think anyone's trying to say that they should, because obviously they're not bringing in nearly as much money. So it is nice to see someone like Kyrie, who we give a lot of crap to be fair. And so I want to give him some props. It's nice to see him stepping up and trying to make sure that those ladies, especially the ones who are choosing to opt out for one reason or another, that they're able to financially be taken care of, because these aren't people who have multi-million dollar contracts that they've just got money sitting in the bank saved up. They need that money.
Oh, most definitely. And I agree. Alex Smith over Haskins any day of the week. Any day of the week.
Twice on Sunday. So any other thoughts you want to share on the WNBA, other than just encouraging people to make sure that they check it out?
Not really, man. Except for Candace Parker is balling. So if you can watch the Sparks, Candace Parker is balling.
Yeah, I didn't have a chance to read the sorry, I did just see right as we were going on, there was a headline that Sabrina was injured. So I don't know what the severity of that is or whatever. I know she had a really good game the other night, so hopefully nothing too serious with that.
Yeah, I heard something, but I hadn't got a chance to look into that. I was busy looking at some of this next topic, this MLB thing, man. So we can pretty much kind of knock all this out together, really. Essentially, man, we got a lot of MLB teams that are having outbreaks. I was reading an article earlier where the commissioner is saying, look, we can't get this under control, we might not have a season anymore. We may have to suspend the season.
Shut it down.
The biggest concern with that for anybody who's a football fan is this is the sport that's outside of the bubble like football's going to be. So if they can't find a way to contain this and they're having these outbreaks, that could be more concerning. I'm an avid fantasy football player. I haven't even set up my leagues this year because I I'm not convinced that we're going to have a season. I'm probably going to set them up this week, but I'm not convinced we're actually going to have a season. If baseball can't get it together, it's going to be hard too. I mean, you've had the Nationals refusing to go, to play the Marlins. You've had the Cardinals have an outbreak. Teams don't want to come play them, so they've already had to shuffle the schedule some for that. So, I mean, all I can really say to sum it up, really with the baseball, and there's a lot more details you can go into, but really just to sum it up for time's sake, man, y'all gotta get together. Y'all gotta get together, man. I want some football, and if y'all can't make it happen, it's gonna be hard for the NFL to justify having football. So get it together, MLB. Get it together.
Yeah, hey, look, man, we said on this very show a couple months ago that the way that things went for the NBA and the MLB were going to be big deciding factors in how the NFL could proceed. And the NBA is doing it absolutely right. No positive tests. And even with no positive tests, man, they're still doing press conferences and stuff with masks on. They're still taking precautions inside the bubble, even with no positive tests. The NBA is doing it 100% the right way. MLB,
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna read some numbers out to you, and we don't do a lot of numbers on this show, but I'm gonna read some numbers to you. 29 positive tests. 21 of those are from the Marlins. And of the other 8, you have 2 players, 1 player at a alternative site, and 5 staff members. That is just a lack of organizational control across the board. That you just have people from every aspect of organizations getting sick, and because I don't know how big those 5 staff members. I don't know what the variety of their roles are, but that's just ridiculous, man. Get it together, MLB. Get your stuff together. Which speaking of, look, speaking of, there was one other MLB conversation I was gonna have, because they just passed this new rule about digital sign stealing. I guess as long as you can steal signs non-digitally, you're still good. Bill Belichick would approve, but this was obviously in response to the debacle with the Astros a couple years ago, and a lot of people kind of felt like the Astros players, because they were given immunity, they didn't show any remorse toward it. So the word going into the season was kind of like, hey, there might be some self-imposed punishment from players around the league, and that kind of died down when everything got pushed back. But then the other day in the game against the Dodgers, pitcher comes out there, starts throwing at guys, and it's pretty obvious why it happened. So he got suspended for 8 games, which is pretty significant when you're only playing 60 games for the whole season. And a lot of people are mad because he got suspended, because they're like, oh, nothing ever happened to the Houston players. Why should he get suspended for trying to dole out a little justice or whatever? And so I think this whole rule change was really just kind of in response to saying, like, look, we can't have y'all trying to throw at players the whole season, so we're going to put something in place to basically say if this happens again, there will be a punishment.
Yeah, too, man. You got to think in baseball, if it's a pitcher, you can only do it on 4-game suspensions. Because if you suspend a pitcher for 1 game, they only pitch like every 4 days. So you got to do at least like 4 games to actually make the pitcher miss a game. So it sounds a lot worse than it is because it's a pitcher. But at the same time, I don't think it should be any suspension. Maybe a warning, maybe a slap on the wrist. They cheated and nothing happened to them. Yep. What do you think people are going to do?
Right.
I mean, if I'm playing them and I'm a team that they beat to get to the World Series, and I find out they cheated, I'm hitting people in the face. I don't care what happens. We just have to slug it out. We got to slug it out. I'm hitting somebody in the face, bro. And no cheater, I'm popping you in the jaw. Fastball.
And let's keep it real, man. Baseball probably should really be doing whatever they can to get some ratings right now. So.
Well, they had one. What do they call it? Donnie Brooks, I think, or something like that. They were saying. I was watching like some highlights, and it's like, oh, Donnie Brooks is breaking out. It's like a little fight. I was like, come on, man. Donnie Brooks. Hey. Yeah. I don't know the baseball lingo for a fight. I just know fight.
Sounds like your fancy was tickled by that, man.
Might have been slightly tickled. Man. Might be slightly tickled.
So, if you guys have any additional thoughts on the MLB stuff, you can drop them in the comments, and we'll swing back around to them. But let's go ahead and move on and talk a little bit about the college football. So originally, I was only going to talk about the ACC and the SEC, but literally 5 minutes before we came on, I saw that the Pac-12 has also announced their schedule, and the Big 12. Well, apparently the Big 12 thinks they have some wiggle room on terms of how they're gonna do things, because they're talking about they're gonna get all their presidents together and come up with 4 or 5 different ideas, and decide on one probably like Monday or something. Which I'm like, guys, everybody else has already said they're playing conference only. Who do you think you're gonna play? It's just not gonna happen. So for me, here's the big thing that came out of this. So everybody obviously went to the conference only schedule. The ACC, and we talk a lot of smack on here about the ACC versus the SEC and all that stuff, because we're both ACC fans and we're both in the South, and ACC versus SEC is a big thing around here. So the ACC came out and said we're going to play a 10-game conference schedule plus one, meaning you can play one out of conference or in-state game. Clearly, this was done with the intention of keeping like Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia Tech, all those rivalries, keeping those intact and allowing those teams to play each other. So, what does the SEC do? They run like pull up my JR here, some scalded dogs, and they decided to only play a conference game. So there's no Florida State this year. There's no Georgia Tech. There's no Clemson, South Carolina. All those games are now off the table because the SEC was scared. And I don't care what they say. That's my story.
Well, I mean, I do like the way the ACC did it, where they gave you the opportunity to play a non-conference game in state or whatever. I mean, we're in Florida, so we got UCF and some different teams that we could probably get with, and get a game on the schedule whenever we have an open week. So I don't think we have a problem filling that game. Plus, what I like about it is it gives teams that may not be able to play a team that they would normally play, like in their area, a chance to play. Like North Carolina could say, we're going to go play A&T. We're going to go and play another smaller school that may not normally get the revenue. We're going to go play them. Obviously, stadiums won't be filled, but they'll get the TV revenue from that, from being a part of that game as well. So I think hopefully some of the schools take that route, just to help out some of the smaller schools that may be in, some troubling times right now. I know that basketball, the ACC is looking at something where they're going to have them play one HBCU game. So that could be something else that, would be big as far as helping out. So hopefully, they take what they have and they do what they need to do with it. I'm a little bit, I don't blame the Big 12. I put it like that. I don't blame the Big 12. Because if I'm with them, I'm probably reaching out to all the ACC schools that I can in the area and saying, hey, y'all want to play some games here? Because, we haven't decided what we're going to do yet. We may do that 10+1 like y'all are doing, or maybe even 10+2. Because at the end of the day, a 10-0 SEC team versus an 11-0 ACC team, you at least got to contemplate saying, well, maybe that 11-0 team that had an extra game, if we're really using the system like we claim, maybe able to get a little higher spot in the playoffs if they end up having the playoffs.
Yeah, and it could also be a benefit if that were to happen for the, an ACC or a Big 12 team who might be on the cusp of getting into the playoffs, to be able to say, well, hey, look, we actually have a win against a out-of-conference opponent. No one else can say that. So that might be, something they can actually put on their resume as a builder. So one thing I'm going to comment on with this is Notre Dame. So I know G Soul's ear probably just perked up a little bit. So, at first, I'm not going to lie. When I saw that they said that Notre Dame is going to be eligible to play in the ACC championship game, I was like, man, you serious right now? No, y'all gotta join the conference. is you're gonna be able to play for the ACC championship. How would that look if Notre Dame actually won the ACC championship this year, and then they're not even part of the conference anymore? That would just be ridiculous. But the only good thing that came out of it, and the reason why I'm actually kind of okay with it after thinking about it, is the fact that every team in the ACC is going to get a share of the NBC money.
I'll tell you the funny thing to me was I saw a meme and it was basically like um I can't remember exact how the meme was put, but basically they were saying the only thing that can make the Notre Dame join a conference is the pandemic, worldwide pandemic. So I mean, I think it makes sense for all parties involved for the year.
Yep.
Notre Dame gets a chance to still have a foot in the national championship. Because let's be honest, if we're looking at how things are now, unless they expand this to 18, it's going to be hard for independent, even if they're undefeated, to get in unless they can prove that they have a very much stronger body of work than a Big Five conference. If you think about it, we got 4 spots, we have Big Five conferences, and then we have independents like Notre Dame. And they're really the one main one that even has a chance year in, year out to even be in that conversation. So I think it's going to get to the point where Notre Dame's going to have to eventually say, you know what, I know we got this NBC contract money and we love it. But I think they're going to end up having to join the ACC or take everything and go to another conference, whatever they decide. I think you're going to get to the point here in the near future where you've held out for a while. I can respect it, Notre Dame, but sooner or later, man, you're going to have to join a conference. The ACC gives you a quicker path to be in contention, but I hope y'all are in the Atlantic League.
You know, man,
Florida State and everybody.
I kind of see the ACC and Notre Dame as, you know, it's like a classic love story, man. You know, guy, you know, meets the girl and, you know, falls in love with her, but she doesn't love him back, and, you know, he just keeps trying, and eventually he wears her down, and she agrees to go out on a date, and then, you know, then they don't see each other for a while, and then the next thing you know, they end up together, man. That's how I think this is all gonna go, personally.
I mean, it makes sense just the way everything is going. And, you know, sports, period, and money, even if they're sharing the NBC money with what they would bring in as far as ratings for ACC games, I think it would make up for, you know, for everybody. So I think it's a good move, you know, for everybody. I thought it was a good move when I first saw it. When I saw it, I was like, that's ingenious. Very beneficial.
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about it until I realized that they're gonna be sharing the NBC money with everybody. Then I was like, okay, then I'm okay with that. You're basically buying your way into an opportunity to play for the ACC championship.
Man.
If you got money, we'll let you in.
If we're being real, man, they're probably the biggest challenger for Clemson this upcoming season.
Yeah, I would like to say it's us, but that's just not realistic. So
I ain't even gonna come out of my mouth and say that. I'm just gonna say Clemson.
Well, you notice I said I would like to be able to say that.
I'm not even gonna step up and say I would like to be able to say that.
It's like last week. I would have liked to have been able to say my boy Roy Jones is going to demolish Mike Tyson. I would like to be able to say that. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to say that.
I feel sorry for Roy, man. I feel sorry for him.
I just hope he makes it out safe, man. So we got about 6-7 minutes left. Want to talk a little bit about the NBA restart, man?
Absolutely.
So, had 2 games last night.
Yeah. Pelicans choked. Pelicans lost. A couple more of those, and unfortunately, NBA, you're not going to have Zion in the playoffs. You might want to go to New Orleans and tell him to play him more. If that's all you're going to play him, New Orleans is not going to go very far. Utah actually didn't look like the best team for most of the game, but it looked like the far more superior team in the fourth quarter, and that's why they won the game. On to game 2. Heard a lot of opinions. I've heard a lot of LeBron lovers, I'm going to call them. It's going to be everybody together until you are LeBron lovers. So the argument I've heard from a lot of those people is, LeBron shut down Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and he made it amazing. bucket, and everything. The game winner. First of all, my understanding of the definition of a game winner is you take the last shot and you make it. LeBron did not take the last shot. He defended on the last shots. So his shot to me, not to knock him at all, was one of the shots from a position on the floor that he's weaker at, and that's like a little short range shot. He's not really short range. Pulls up, shoots the shot, it bounces off the front of the rim. No way he could know that ball was coming right back to him, but he saw it, went for it, got the little lay-in, score. Defense should have boxed him out. They didn't. That's all on the Clippers defense. We turn around, we get down. Kawhi Leonard has the ball, like 4 seconds left or so. What I want to see from Kawhi is what I used to complain about LeBron about. You find a way to take the last shot. LeBron clearly wasn't going to put a hand up on you or anything where a foul could be called. I think in those situations, as the man or the guy on the team, the superstar, the number one at alpha, you got to take that shot. I got a nice little step back shot. He should have put that shot on display for that game at that particular time. Instead, he passed the ball to Paul George, who is, in my opinion, his Robin, right? Nothing wrong with being a Robin. Every Batman needs a Robin. But he gives the ball to Paul George. Paul George misses the shot. Game's over. If he takes that shot, they at least have a chance to crash the board. If he quickly takes the shot, they at least have a chance to crash the board if he misses it and try to put back to tie the game. So I'm not going to take away from LeBron because I'm not a LeBron hater. So I'm not going to try to take away from him. But to say that he played amazing defense at the end of the game, to me, is a joke. For someone to say, oh, he did nothing and he fouled, that's a joke as well. I think he did wise and playing defense. He did the best that he should have done in that particular situation because you don't want to put Kawhi on the line. You don't want to put Paul George on the line because you know they're going to make it. Now, the other thing was people talking about, Kawhi couldn't get the separation that he normally gets because he normally puts his shoulder into people and LeBron's more solid than him, and that's how he creates the separation. If you watch basketball, you know Kawhi has a step back. Yeah. Kawhi uses that step back. He can create enough space to get that shot off. That's what should have happened. He just got back. It's his first game. I'm not going to knock him. I'm not going to trash him. But that's what should have happened. If you continue to do this, you're going to put your team in a bad situation. But hopefully it's just getting the rust off, getting back into play, and getting back into actual regular game mind state. That's why you made that mistake. It's your shot, Kawhi. You got to take that shot.
Yeah, and you know, you can see I got the Lakers shirt on. Obviously, I'm a Lakers fan, but I'm not a LeBron homer like a lot of people are, because I acknowledge the fact that LeBron came to LA at the end of his career. Obviously, I want to see LeBron do well because I want LA to win a championship this year. That is my only motivation for rooting for LeBron. But here's the thing. Did LeBron hit the game winner? Technically, yes. He made the last bucket that went in. So technically, he hit the game winner. But as you said, he actually missed the first shot. And no kudos for him for going to get the rebound. But no one blocked him out. So you at least have to put some of that on the defense for not doing their job. And then coming down on the other end, yes, again, LeBron gets kudos for going out and D'ing up two of the best players in the league and actually stopping them. The thing is, LeBron was clearly really trying to get the ball to move out of their hands. He wasn't trying to really stop them. He was trying to make them take a harder shot, but that was it. He didn't even put his hands up. At one point, he actually had his hands behind his back because he wanted to make sure that the referee could not call a foul. Sorry, Paul George. I know you're trying really hard to get that foul call, bro, but you're not going to get a call against a guy who's backing up with his hands behind his back. You're not getting that call no matter what you do. That's just, what's the call even going to be? That he made you look bad because you missed a wide open shot, basically? No. No one's going to give you a call for that. But the thing is, Paul George should have never been the one shooting that shot. Like you said, Kawhi, that's you. You can't sit here and want to be the man. You can't want to be that guy. And then in a clutch moment where you got a one-on-one chance to take out one of the best defenders in the league and prove that you were the better player, you deferred. We're not talking driving to the hole, kicking to a wide open guy. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about making the smart pass. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you literally handed the ball off to the guy who is supposed to be your number 2. And you said, will you please go win the game for me because I can't do it.
Or that's what you did.
And I can't respect that, man. And I don't have any problem with Kawhi. I don't want anybody thinking that, this is some bitterness because he chose to go to the Clippers or whatever. It's not. It's the fact is he's a great player. And if you want to be in that level, you got to take that shot. And you and I both had that same criticism of LeBron a couple years ago, up until they knocked that man's headband off in the finals, man.
Bro, if you take that headband off LeBron, that man turned into Mike Jordan 2.0 almost. That joke would get bad.
I told my wife about that last night because she was talking about his hairline, how he looked like about like 60 years old now.
Bro, hairline. Did you see the top of his head?
No, I'm gonna tell you. Look, man, I'm not trying to turn this into talking about people, but I'm gonna tell you who I had to say something about last night. I'm like, man, if somebody don't get Doc Rivers just a straight razor and just shade that nonsense he got off on the top of his head, I'm like, bruh, you got so little hair out there look like a windscreen.
Bruh. So
like,
they
like this. I'm like,
there ain't nothing up there, man. It's like a line, literally. Bruh, I'm watching. I was watching Undisputed. What's the show? Yeah, Skip and Shannon, Undisputed. So I was watching that. So they put a picture up of LeBron when he had the long beard. He had a little stocking on his head and everything. And I texted you the other day. It was like, bruh, he looked like Kimbo Slice. Right. So they put the picture up there with him over there looking like Kimbo Slice, and then the picture of him now. And they was talking about how he was saying, I didn't see this, so this is what they said on the show. They saying what I'm saying. But they said that he was talking about how, he was leaving his beard and he was being natural and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then they was laughing and clowning about his his beard, right? And then they was talking about what chemicals he put in it. So Skip was like, he made like a sly joke talking about the color, and he put color in it. So Shannon's talking about, oh, that's not color, that's that Beijing. And bruh, I was sitting there thinking he should have put that. LeBron should put some of that Beijing on the top, bruh. LeBron and Doc. Somebody need to sit down and have a conversation with LeBron and Doc. They need to pull them in the room and be like, look, man, there comes a time where you gotta let it go. And LeBron, and you know what they do? They need to do the conversation. Jesus and berries. LeBron need to put them at the top, bro, like to sprinkle them up there. But somebody need to talk to him and just say, look, there comes a time. They need to tell LeBron, Doc Rivers, hold your head down. That's your future if you keep this up. And then they need to tell Doc, just stop it, bro. Just completely stop it. Don't do it. It's done.
Bruh. I'm like, I'm actually more amazed at how Doc Rivers even managed to not shave it all off. That's how thin his hair is at this point. I'm impressed by the fact he actually managed to not shave it all off. I don't even know how he did it. What guard is that? What guard do you use on your head to make it look like that?
Bro, that's that. Them gold trimmers that they be using? All it is just taking the trimmer and edging it up. That's all you can do with that, bro. You can't, ain't nothing to cut down.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you, like, you know how when you see people post like graphics online, how sometimes they'll put like a little overlay on it and then they'll lower down the opacity on it so it just make it look a little bit darker so you can read the text. That's what it looked like somebody did to Doc Rivers' head.
Hey man, I saw it. So I saw Doc's, right? And I say, man, because I said this last year, like not early this year, but last year. I was like, Doc, no. then LeBron's thing is, and with LeBron the thing is, sometimes it look better and sometimes it look worse.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever you was doing, oh, I got it.
The juices in the bears.
What happened was he wasn't able to get what he needed during the COVID lockdown. So we got to give him a little bit of time for whatever he was using before to get some regrowth going on. But if it doesn't work, intervention, him and Doc Rivers needs to happen.
It's gotta happen,
They in the same building, bro. Listen, they in the same building. All you gotta do is get both teams together in the same building. They can make it happen.
We might have to go maybe like borrow from WWE here. Maybe if the Lakers and the Clippers end up playing in the Western Conference Finals, maybe it's a loser shaves their head match or something.
Well, if that's the case, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to hope that the Clippers lose because Doc needs to shave his head worse.
Hey man, I wouldn't be upset about that, man. I wouldn't be upset about that whatsoever.
G Sosa, man, you silly, bro. In the cafeteria, that is a good place to meet. They can just all meet in the cafeteria. Put them in do a circle of trust and put them both inside the circle.
Hey man, I don't know. The cafeteria might not be a good idea, man. Doc Rivers already look like he got a hairnet on. They might try to put that man to work. Bruh. They be like, "You're late for your shift."
Bro, you know what he looked like? Seriously, he looked like a newborn baby, like a week old. That's what his hair looked like. Bro, take a newborn baby and shape their hair up. That's what Doc Rivers head looked like right now.
You know what, man? I'm gonna leave Doc Rivers alone now, man. I'm just gonna stop because we can do this all night, all night long. Be like Ric Flair, all night long. Woo!
The part about all this, man, is we can't have what happened in Game of Zones happen. It's impossible. That's the worst part of it. There's no way Kobe can pull him to the side and talk to him right now, man.
Bruh, if he could, he'd probably be like, bruh, shave it. Just take it off.
Kobe let it go before it got that bad.
Yeah, Kobe knew.
Yeah.
Kobe knew.
He let it go, bro.
Look, maybe Mike reached out to him, man.
Maybe.
Mike let it go way before it got bad.
Yeah, Mike was like...
I think Mike started to see like a little bit of a bald spot, and he was like, shave, done.
Mike was like, my hairline went back an inch, shaved. Ain't even playing this game.
Mike was bald for so long. I went back when we were watching The Last Dance. I was like, oh, I forgot Mike actually had hair at one point. Mike shaved that off early. What was Mike, about 26 when he shaved?
He let that go, bro. He won't play no games. He let that go.
Mike was like, I'm out.
Maybe he could reach out to LeBron.
Yeah. Mike,
I know he'd reach out to Doc.
Mike, if you watching, reach out, bro. Talk to LeBron. Talk to Doc. I know you can get through to him, man. If anybody can. Hook him up, man. Send him some raises in the mail, something.
I'm gonna pull a Shannon Sharp. Come on, Goat Jordan. Reach out to him, Goat Jordan.
Goat Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, man, we're way over time already, and we at this point we're just clowning. So go ahead and call it a night here, man. I want to appreciate everybody who tuned in. Make sure y'all join us every Friday. We go live at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you tune in early. Go ahead and chat with us. Love to interact with y'all. Hit the subscribe button down there in the lower right hand corner, or I don't know which way I'm pointing on camera now, but whichever way I'm pointing, it's in the bottom right hand corner. Go ahead and click on that, and also follow the link in the description, and you can subscribe to our podcast as well, so that way you can check it on audio and get it going. So yeah, you're pointing at it. I can see you on the other thing.
Yes, sir. And I just want LeBron and Doc to know, man, we just playing, y'all. We just playing. But for real, but we just playing.
Yeah. We're saying it with love. It's all love.
Yeah.
It's all love
No
and
truth
respect.
than just.
Yeah, all truth and love, man. All truth and love.
Absolutely. Sosa, appreciate you in the comments again this week, man. Always good to have somebody to chat it up with a little bit.
Absolutely, and invite your friends. Make sure you guys subscribe and share the links to this video or on the podcast. Definitely appreciate the support and the love. But as we do every week, we must remind you that even the sun goes down.
Airlines eventually die.
And barbers worldwide be like, why?
Nothing is for sure.
Nothing is for certain.
But until you shave it off,
we gonna close the curtain. It's him and I.
The play callers.
Y'all better know that.
Snip, snip.
ATL to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
See y'all next week, man.